And just to tell you that we will be recording this session, the recording has started, and that we will put it on Canvas for people to go there and look at it. Let me also quickly say that I've not uploaded the video for last week, so I would combine everything. And after today's presentation, then I would actually upload everything. So please pardon me for that. Now, on behalf of the Faculty of Engineering, the Built Environment, the Office of the Dean, and then my boss is the Academic Development Unit, I would want to welcome you all to today's webinar. And today is more or less like a workshop. I think you guys have acknowledged that you can actually see my screen and you can hear my voice. Today, what we're basically going to do is I'm just going to help us. There are a lot of tools available for you to be able to manage your literature review. And to be able to manage your literature review, you can do this in tandem with any of the reference managers that you have. So you can use Zotero, which Wits University uses. It's open source, so it's free. And then you can also use Mendeley. Mendeley is also free, and it's also run or managed by Elsevier. I chose Mendeley over Zotero, but it's just a matter of preference. And the reason why I did that is that also Mendeley gives you the opportunity or the chance to be able to do a lot of things that Zotero is not able to do. So for instance, in Mendeley, you have a lot of people, a lot of resource sections that you can actually join, and you can join public groups that helps you manage your work. And anytime you are faced with any challenge, you can easily get into the community and they can help you. Another thing is that because Mendeley is managed by Elsevier, it's much easier for them to, you can link your Mendeley directly to Elsevier, where it can give you updates on the current papers that are happening, the current papers that have been published in your field. That is why I chose Mendeley, and it's much easier to use. I think in the course of the year, we will have workshop on both. We've already had workshop on Zotero. It was done by the library. So I think that I'm waiting to get a video so that I can share it with you guys. Now, today, last week, Prof. Ivan Hofseya talked about finding gaps and doing a good literature review. Now, it is very important that as a postgraduate, you know how to actually manage your literature review. Now, the reason why it is very critical to try and find out how to manage this particular thing is because, one, maybe some of you would attest to the fact that you might have written a piece or you have written a section of your literature review where you actually realized that you were looking for a particular reference, and then your supervisor said, no, we need that reference, and you have to comb through your books, comb through your pieces of notes, and till date you can't find it. You even went online, but it's difficult to find. Now, the reason why some of these things are so is because probably you downloaded it from different places where at that time you were given that particular permission to do so. Now, what you're currently seeing, it's basically a tool we designed in Excel. It's actually automated. So basically what you are seeing in front of you is the summary. So here you are talking about the year. Now, the reason why we put in the oldest, the newest, and then the average is that, especially those in the built environment and construction and all that, when you are doing, let's say, a literature review or you're doing a study, some people will want to look at it at a particular year. So someone will say, I want to look at a particular study, let's say a technology-driven study from, let's say 2010 to 2020. So that means it's a 10-year gap. Now, if you want to do that, you want to make sure that you restrict your literature to fall within that gap. That is where you, for instance, say your oldest literature should be in 2020, and then the newest should be maybe 2020. Now, however, the document type, if you go to any referencing manager, these are all the document types that you have. Normally, we focused on journal articles. We focus on some manuscript. And then if you are from the built environment, you would also want to look at things like a newspaper article. Not that a newspaper article is a credible source, but if that is the only thing you have, then you can use it. Another thing people look at is they look at the conference papers. And also, if you are from the School of Electrical and you are doing some form of software, you would also be looking at a computer program. Now, what you have here is basically the summary of everything that you see under this tab. And I'll take my time to go through one after the other. Now let's go to the literature database. Now, basically, when you are here, because I'll just walk you through it, and then you have an idea of what it is. So, for instance, let's say your name is Desmond, so I'm using Desmond. So I'm just going to type in here Desmond and say Desmond Clenham. I'm the one doing this one. And then the topic of my study or of research area is basically postgraduate. This is just a hypothetical thing, postgraduate supervision or something. And then what I then do is that I then look for so many articles. So first, let me say that you will see the titles here is you have authors, the year, the title, a category. This category, you can decide to make it a keyword. So you can have a keyword 1, keyword 2, keyword 3. These are basically the words you use in searching for that particular article or that particular journal paper or that particular conference proceedings. Now, what you see in blue, basically these are the document type, the publication setting, the knowledge type, and then the methodology. Now, the reason why these ones are in blue is that if you click, you will see an arrow down there. So it's a list. So it's a list where with the document type, the one that you see on the previous page, the document type. So for instance, if it's a journal article, if it's a letter, if it's a magazine, if it's a manuscript, if it's a patent, all these things are here. So all those ones, if it's a website, if it's a thesis, they are all here. Now, the academic type too is also similar thing. So is it academic or is it a practitioner? So some people that are doing some things on law and all that, they would have to probably cite a case, or is it a mixed of both? And then the knowledge type. Yeah, both here, is it theoretical or is it empirical or is it mixed or others? And then the experiment, the methodology. Are you doing a theoretical work? Are you doing empirical, mixed? They are also here. Now, if let's say I got an article written by author A and then author B, I would put them here and then I will state probably the year 2010. Now, the database, the literature database, this is where you have gotten maybe 10, 5, 6, 7, or even 20 articles. You've gone through them, and then you put the titles in there. And then I said you can make this a keyword. So you can say keyword 1, keyword 2, keyword 3. So for instance, we say we are looking at what? The drivers of ABC of postgraduate supervision. Okay. And click there, and then you can test wrap it. You can also increase it a bit. And then you have this. So the keyword 1, it's supervision. Maybe those are your keywords, postgraduate. And then you can put here probably here research. So you fill this thing up. And then what type of document is it? Is it a journal article? You select. What is the publication setting? Is it if you click down here, you will see, is it academic? You click academic. And then you do, is it empirical or is theoretical? You click. And then you look at the methodology. Is it theoretical? You also click the methodology. And then your key argument. You select, after reading the paper, what is the main point of departure in that particular article that you read. Now, what is the context? Is it a South African postgraduate or PG? And then what are some of the key codes that you got from reading that particular article? And then what are the notes that you basically did, the notes that you gotten from the process, and how has that note helped you? So basically you write your own notes and then you put it here. Now I quickly want to show you how it looks like in your literature summary. So when I click here, we selected a journal. If you select a journal, you see that your oldest, the year that you had, once you fill up this particular one. So I can go back here and just fill 2012. 2018, sorry, 2018, 2019, and then the title here, I can say ABCD, just for illustration purposes. Computers, stuff like that. And then let's say I come to document type and I select this, and this is, let's say it's a book section. And let's say that one is basically a book. And then we have another journal. So I select journal article, and then here it's practitioner, here it's mixed. And then the next thing is you select, let's say it's also practitioner. Then if I come back here, once I start filling it up, you will see that journal article, you have two. The reason why this, when I was doing my master's and my PhD, my supervisor always says to me, Desmond, I want a journal article. So at the end of the day, I want to say, okay, Prof, I read X amount of books. I read X amount of book sections. My literature review contains X amount of that, X amount of that. Now, this basically gives you an idea of the various things that you've actually done and how those things actually play in the literature review that you're actually doing. And so when you come there, the more, once you continue filling it up, if you have 1985, for instance, and you come back here, you would have said that your oldest will be 1985, and then your average is what, 2009. Now, then you can look at it. If you want to look at your publication setting, you want to ask yourself, how many of the articles that you read are actually academic? How many of these things are actually practitioner based? And how many of the things are actually mixed? So this gives you a fairer idea of you being able to maybe segment and put your reference, your literature review in perspective where you got, and for you to be able to do with this particular document, then help you, basically, it's a summary of everything that you have done. So for instance, if let's say you've written an article and then you did not really know what exactly you cited or which exactly you cited. Let's say you wrote an article on postgraduate supervision, and let's say you have more than 3 supervision, you can just come here and enter the particular author, if you know the author by name, because remember, you have a section here that says author. If you know your author by name, you come here, you click on the author, and it says, okay, this particular author, what is the keywords that is there? You select your keywords, and then you go straight to look at basically what is the argument? What exactly does this people posit? What were they talking about when they wrote this particular paper? So for instance, it says, example said that X impact Y by influencing Z. And then basically, what is the context? Because a lot of the thing, last week, Prof. Ivan Hosea talked about context. We're talking about the content and the context. When you are looking at this particular, maybe you are designing a software for a group of people in Africa. And basically, the reason why you are doing that is that you are looking at a software that will improve farming. So you're looking at things like, okay, farm machinery, and now you're looking at how can we mechanize a particular tool to deliver a work. Or maybe it's an irrigation process where you want to use your phone. You've developed an app where you want to use an app to set it up in a way that you can switch, you can turn on the irrigation machine on and off. And then you also look at what is the key code. So before you come to maybe use this particular template, what you need to do is that you may have read your work, and by a lot of us will choose to write things on paper and scribble things there. But here you take the opportunity to think through the things that you've read. And then here is more of a summary that gives you an overarching view of whatever you were actually reading or whatever article you've read. And there you will be able to put them in order. And then you would also put here, for instance, I put here my notes. So what are basically the notes that you took and how your comprehension of what you read. So this is where you actually infer from the literatures you've read, and you can also put here the gaps in knowledge, what you think that they didn't do. So some articles, especially the review articles, they have areas where they talk about future research options. So you go there and you can actually list it. And you can actually take this and make it your own. You can increase, you can continue to write anything you want to do. Now, the next thing is that I left this place blank. You can come here and say, okay, what theoretical framework am I using? Let's say maybe you are using technology acceptance model, which is basically called TAM. I'm just using this to illustrate something. So they say the technology acceptance model is basically a model that is determined to show that if you develop a technology, and how are the recipients or the people that are going to use that particular technology, how will they accept it? So people have talked about perceived. So people want to look at, is it user friendly? That is one of the things. And number two, what is people's perception about the technology as a whole? So if you are using that theoretical framework, this is an opportunity for you to come here and just basically do a bit of, you put all your stuffs in here. If you are going to do any measurement, let's say you are doing a quantitative or qualitative research where you are going to collect data or you're going to do anything, this is where you put your Likert scale and you say, okay, from scale of 1 to 10, 1 where 1 means poor and then 10 means very excellent. These are some of the things that you put here. Now, if you noticed last week when Prof. Ivan Hofseya was talking, he showed us basically a flow chart where people be able to map a lot of things. One of the easy ways to actually do this is to actually come and then you go to this website called draw.io. I just want to quickly show you something. I'm going to create a new diagram. The blank create. Save, and then we open it. So this is basically is draw.io. This is where you can actually come and select pictures, and then you can actually do your diagram. This particular website is free. You can use your linkage, so you can come and link them up. So you draw this, and probably you can say, maybe this is literature review, or point A to B to C. And you can actually copy this particular diagram and come and dump it here. And so what this particular literature review management template helps you to do is that it helps you to work in a systematic process. It helps you to follow through your research so that you don't really miss out anything that you are doing. And then if you have any interview questions, you have them here. So this gives you a whole idea of how you want your research to be conducted. Remember, as engineers or scientists, you have to plan your work. So it's like a design. You do a design, you do your measurement, and then you try to use that design to do the actual project. So this gives you that whole scenario. And here you can also put in things like your Gantt chart, where you can be able to tell, okay, from in 2 months' time, I need to finish my proposal. I need to give it to my supervisor. In the 3rd month, I need to submit to the faculty or to the school so that and then I can, these are the things I want to do. And by so doing, you would be able to, anytime you put any data anywhere here, what happens is that that data get transferred here because there's a summary. So for instance, if you know that if we go back to the literature review database, if we count, if you come to this section and we count the number, the type, the document type, you would have noticed that we have 2. If we just increase the number of articles we have, let's say we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then I go there to check how many articles do I have, journal articles, you see that you have 6. So basically, and this, you can also, it's simple Excel, you can also decide to automate it. You can also decide to edit it in a way that it can give you your seminar authors. So for instance, if you are doing something in nanotechnology, you know some of the pioneers of nanotechnology is Richard Feynman. So you cannot be talking about nanotechnology where you're not be talking about Richard Feynman. If you're doing some form of computational work or crypto, or you're doing cryptography, you will not be, you mention somebody like Alan Turing. So you want to know that what are the seminar authors. So you come here and you ask yourself, okay, if I look at this whole literature database that I have, what are the names of the seminar authors? Are those authors missing? What can I do to get them there? And then this will inform how you then go to get your various articles. So in a jiffy, or in brief, what we've just done is that you would now have to just populate. Anything that is in black, it's something that you have to populate. Anything that is in blue, it's something that you just have to click. You just have to click and you say the knowledge type. You just have to click. And let me quickly show you something. this particular list, it's exhaustive, but you can it's not exhaustive, sorry. So what you can do is that when you right click on the bar and you say unhide, you would see that we have put all of them there. So let me go, for instance, to knowledge type and say, okay, when I click knowledge type, I have those things. Let's say all I need to do is to click and say insert, and I come here and I say, I want to say is what is practical knowledge or something, if there is something like that. I just say practical and enter. And then when you do that, you just go back to your literature review database and you go to the knowledge type. You click here and you see that practical has actually entered. So you can decide to tweak this anyhow you want. The same applies to your methodology. So I think that on this note, this is the little thing that I actually want to share with you. I feel that a lot of the postgraduate students that I talk to, most of the times when they come to me and I says, okay, how are you making sure that you are taking stock of your literature? You realize that when it is time for you to write, you'll be doing this whole work. And when you check, you have literature, you have papers that you've read scattered and littered all over the place. But the idea is that when you have a tool like this, you are also keeping track of what you are doing. Now, the reason why this is also good a tool for researchers is that you want to see how the knowledge in your area has evolved. And for you to be able to do that, you need to keep track of some of the authors that are in your area. Now, this will also help you situate your own research in what people are saying. So sometimes you can even put your own work here and say, this is how my work compares with others. Now, this particular tool is also good when you are doing something like a patent search. For instance, when you go to Google Scholar and then you are searching for patent, when you have relevant patents, you can be able to come here and rank them. Because if you look at this particular tool here, you will see that on line 33, that is where you have a patent. So if you check and you say, let's say you have a patent from somebody, you come in here and you check document type. I can just come here and quickly say patent. And once I click on that, I check, you see patent has become one. And then it tells you, because for me, if I'm supervising student, at the end of the day, I want to see that we want to see you are doing research. And the way we do this thing is that we want to see how frequent you are reading journals. So I want to look at how many journal articles have you read, because you read books to give you the fundamental understanding. But through journal publication and conference proceedings, that is how come the knowledge is built. They built upon what is already written in books. So this is how I feel that this could be very, very much useful. Don't worry about these things. It's basically a little bit of a glitch, but I think that I can easily sort that one out by putting if error over there. Put the if error 0 and put inside. Okay, and then I'll just drag it. Good. So folks, on this note, this is what I actually wanted to share with you today. And I hope that you will find this particular tool very useful. Having said that, if there are any questions, I would welcome them, and then we can take it from there. Thank you so much for your time. So I would ask for questions, and then I can explain what has to be done. Anyone that wants to know more about anything, you can raise your hand and then ask a question. Thank you so much for your time. Yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Good. So basically, this is what I have for you today. And if anyone have a question or you think this is going to be very useful for you, we can just talk about it. Any question? Or are you still digesting it? Okay, I see Angela. Angela, go ahead. Okay, I see Blessing. Blessing, go ahead.
I actually don't have a question, but I wanted to say it looks to me like a very useful tool, especially on tracing the knowledge build-up side. That is very, very helpful, and I would like to say thank you for this too.
Thanks
Okay.
a lot. Yes, thanks, Blessing. I hear you. Actually, the idea is we are trying to see what are the tools we can get for our postgraduates so that at least they can have a better, they can get this thing done. Yes, any more? Yes, Mr. Zulu, go ahead.
Thanks, Desmond. I just wanted to find out, as you, as a person that has already worked on developing this spreadsheet, are we going to be able to have access to it as a template, or is it something that perhaps we'll have to try and develop something similar on our own?
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. As a matter of fact, I have actually, when I sent the email to you, I had attached it, but I also have it. You can also get the same tool on Canvas. So if you go to Canvas and you go under resources, you should be able to find it over there. It's just, you can take it and then you can tweak it to suit your very needs, because that is how it is. This just gives you a framework. And so once you have this, you can now decide to say, what do I want to do? How do I? So I'm just giving you a template so that you can now go play around it. And if you're struggling to write the simple Excel functions that I used. So if you're struggling with anything, you can also just contact me, and then I can see how we can help you. But this is freely available. It's free knowledge for everyone to do. So yeah, you would get it.
Okay, thank you. You actually answered my follow-up question, where what happens if I get stuck with some of the functions, but you've answered that you more than open to an email to assist there. So thank you for that.
No, you're welcome so much. And now let me also use this opportunity whilst you guys prepare for questions. Let me also use this opportunity to say that as a postgraduate student with my little with my little stint in the consulting world, one of the things that I would recommend as a postgraduate student, apart from all the hardcore things we are studying, is to know how to use Word, MS Word, very, very well. You should know how to use it proficiently. You should know how to use it in the form of a template. Then you should also know how to use PowerPoint. And the next thing that I will say to you is you should know how to use Excel and do basic functions. It will also interest you to know that if you have Excel and you have a little bit of understanding in VBA, you can actually regulate traffic light, or the robot as we call it. So it's very important that these are tools that would help you as we are talking about data analysis and we are going into the world of data. It's very important that you know how to use Excel proficiently. I know a lot of us also learn how to use Origin, but Excel is widely used, so you should also know how to use it. And if you need some crash course on that, you can also get in touch with me, and then we can see what we can do. I see Clayton. Please, can you go ahead?
How are you, Desmond?
I'm very well, sir.
And good afternoon, everybody. Listen, Desmond, the presentation started and I could not see how you started. But I think I need more information, because right now I'm also doing my industrial project as well. And I'm exactly on the literature review. But now that I've missed the biggest chunk of your presentation, I don't know how I can be assisted with this presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. The first thing I would say is that this presentation is recorded, and then it also be pasted. I will post it on Canvas, so you can fetch it from there. But the key item of what we presented today is I just presented a literature review management template. What this thing does is that after you've collected your literature review, you've read it, you would have the opportunity to go to, when you look at the tabs in there, there is one that is called literature database. So what that does is that you go in there and then you put in some key parameters like the author's name, the type of knowledge it is, whether it's a theoretical one, a practical one, and then the methodology. You can also go ahead and include things like Is it a mixed method? Is it a quantitative method? Or is it purely experimental? So you put all those things there. I don't know. Can you see my screen? Let me quickly just spend 2 minutes to show it. Can you see my screen?
Yeah, I see it, but I think it is coming very slow. I can see where you are now, but I don't know if that's where exactly you are, because on my side, it's
can you see
coming
an
very
Excel?
slow.
Can you see
But
an
I can
Excel?
see dashboard now.
Good. So basically, you can see this
Sorry.
dashboard. So good. You can see this dashboard. So what I'm saying is that this is the dashboard you can see, and this is the database that you need to complete. When you put in, if I put in, let's say I put, show you something now. Let's say I put here presentation and I put here radio broadcast. When I come to the summary, anything that I put here would show up here. So if I look for presentation, where are you? You can see presentation has 1, radio broadcast has 1. So in this particular database, we have 10 items. If we look at this and you count it, you see that it is 10. You have 10 items in there, and the total is 10. What this helps you, the summary page helps you to do is that 1, it helps you to determine what is the oldest literature that you have, what is the newest, and then what is the average. So it takes the oldest and it takes the newest, and then it averages them and it gives that figure to you. And then it also shows you, is this particular publication an academic paper? Is it a practitioner's comment? Or is it a mixed, or is it others? So basically, once you are able to fill up this whole thing, this whole section, and I said that anything in blue, it's something that is a list. So you go out there, you click on it. If it's a book, you click on it. And then that book actually, anything you click on over here, when you check on your summary, it tells you that, okay, you have a book type or you have something in there. And that helps you to be able to position your literature, to do a literature in a manner that will help you reach your goal. Because at the end of the day, a literature review, 1, gives you the fundamental concept of whatever you are studying. Number 2, it helps you see how the knowledge has evolved in the area. Number 3, aim of a literature review, it helps you to determine gaps. And so once you've determined those gaps, you can come here and say that, okay, at the last section, let me quickly go there. Here, you can put here and say gaps in research or something. And then when you put this thing here, you can say that, okay, this is, so ideally when you are doing a literature review, you are critiquing someone's work, and you are also seeing what they did, the assumptions that they use in doing what they did, and then what can you improve from what have already been done. And by so doing, it gives you that overarching view of what the people are saying in the area and what they have done in regards to what is happening in the area. So basically, this is it. You can have a look at the video, and then I'm just an email away. And if you are struggling with something, please feel free to talk to me. Feel free to email me. And then you can also we can schedule a Teams meeting where I can actually talk and then go through with you. And also another thing that I said, for those that join us a bit late, is that please ensure that you learn how to use Microsoft Office, which means you must know how to use your Microsoft Excel, Microsoft PowerPoint, and then Microsoft Word. You must we know how to use those things, but we know how to use them superficially. You need to dig deep. You need to know how to use basic functions in Microsoft Excel, and basically it's the one doing the thing. If you can build a dashboard, you can build simple programs and automate them in Excel, and that should be easy to do. And so, for instance, this is basically an Excel, and if you know how to use some of these things, it becomes a soft skills that can help you land a job, especially in this era that Peter Drucker calls the era of the 3 Cs. We are talking about what? Accelerated change, overwhelming complexities, and tremendous competition. So you need to position yourself in a way that helps you leverage these tools that you have and resources that you have, so that you can become an effective and a very good researcher. I think there is a book that says you should become so good that you can't be ignored. So doing the research and knowing how to use the various tools to do the research, how do you collect your data? So for instance, those of us doing proposal, I would say that I would probably, a way to say, this is how I will collect my data and this is how I will store the data. So you can even say, I will use a literature review management template to store my data. And you also say that you will use a reference manager to help you collect and collate all your published literature so that when you want to cite them, you wouldn't have to do it manually. I spoke to a few people last week, and it will intrigue you to know about 20% of postgraduate students are still referencing manually. That it's so wrong. You should learn how to do this by using the reference manager, either Zotero or Mendeley. If you want to use EndNote, you would have to buy it. But then Zotero and Mendeley, they are open source. It means they are freely available for you to use. So, Mr. Clayton, this is the things that I talked about before you joined us. I don't know if I've answered you.
No, I think, thank you so much. I think it's so interesting, you know, and I feel like we need more of such a thing. And thank you for such.
No, thank you so much, sir. And let me also say that, please, you just don't have to walk this journey alone. You have my email address, it's desmond.clenham@wits.ac.za. Come talk to me. I am not your supervisor. I will not pretend to be one, but I think that the university is equipped and capable of giving you relevant resources that you can use to ease the process and to make sure that you finish your postgraduate degree in a record time. If there are things that you can automate, you don't have to do them manually. So it's all about postgraduate thinking smart and working smart rather than working hard. I think this time, the era of the 3Cs, you don't need to work hard. You just have to work smart and know what tools to use so that, for instance, if it takes you 30 minutes to do a particular thing, and you can do that in 5 minutes, why don't you opt for the 5 minutes so that you can use the rest of your time to do other things? So please feel free to come talk to us. Any more questions? We have about 15 minutes to go. Or somebody want to add something? Let me quickly check if there are some questions in the chat box. Oh, okay. Somebody says that maybe you should someday teach us how to develop such tools. No, it's something that can be done. It's something that can be done. It's yeah. People say they've received a template. Thanks a lot. Oh, okay. My email address. Let me type it here. I think you can still see the screen, so it's gonna be here. Yes. And if also, let me also say that if you can't find one of the things you would see is when you go through the emails that you receive from me weekly, you would see and the announcement. So if you go to Canvas, my email is there. And also you can also reach us at aid.edu@wits.ac.za. And then my colleagues will also take it up from there. And let me also use this opportunity to say there are a lot of resources within the ADU for you. I think in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we have an in-house psychologist who would come and take us through some few tips for the journey ahead. So please, some of these things, try as much as possible to participate in it. I know that postgraduate students who say they are doing research, they are doing all that, but sometimes it's very important you slow down, you unwind, and then you try and look at what are the various options, because this, I believe you me, this postgraduate journey is a very daunting one, and you don't have to suffer in silence. We are here to help you, to support you. So it is your duty to make good use of us. And then if we also don't know, I will not pretend that we are a repository of knowledge, but if you don't know, if I don't know, I would consult, and then I'll tell you, I'll get back to you. And trust me, we will get back to you. We will get the relevant stuff for you so that you can make sure, so that we know that you are doing this work and you are doing it with much ease. Any more questions? Clayton, your hand is still up. Is it the old one? If there are no questions or comment, then I think that our workshop for today is done. And I think I should stop sharing it now. And let me say that if you check through the template and you found any bag that you feel that you cannot do, please feel free to reach out, and then let's see how we can do it. Let me also say to you that all our webinars, we make sure that we evaluate them. So please, I would put the link in the chat box in just now. So please, let me also plead with you to go there and then tell us what we should do differently. Tell us what improvement we should do, because these webinars and workshops are tailor-made for our students. And so, and also if you feel that you are a particular group that you feel that you are underrepresented, we try as much as possible to try and cater for postgraduate people doing honors, masters, PhDs, and then sometimes researchers that come on board. So please feel free to suggest the areas you feel that we can do better, and so that we can tailor our webinars to suit your needs. It is very, very important. We don't just want to do something because we feel like doing it. We want to do it because we feel that it will make the necessary impact. So I will quickly put it in the chat box, and then for some strange reason, the thing is not allowing me to, but I'll email it to you. I would email that whole presentation to you. On this note, I want to thank you all for coming. Have a great week further, and then I'll see you next week. Bye.
Thanks, Desmond. Bye.
Thanks, bye.
Thanks, Desmond. Thanks, bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Bye, even though I joined late.